UGA's star freshman Anthony Ant-Man Edwards, he said he's still unsure if he's going to declare for the NBA draft now. So an AJC.com article, he was talking to them, and Edwards said that, I don't know what I'm doing yet. I'm still an 18-year-old kid, so I haven't thought about anything like that, he says, quote, unquote. And he got more than 40 million reasons why he couldn't leave the NBA draft, as all big boards have him as the overall, number one pick. So, hey, he didn't even decide. I have an 18-year-old kid, or now he's 19, but still, they don't know what they're doing, but I guess we got to figure it out, eh?
I don't know. For 40 million reasons, I can hire me an attorney, and I'll be just fine. How about you, JJ?
Yeah, I'd say the same thing. You nailed it on the head there, Stephanie. 40 million reasons. That's what Zion Williams got last year for being the number one overall pick. You think with the new collective bargaining agreement in place, to expect that number to be about the same, if not maybe a couple million less. But what's a couple million at that point? So I personally think he's really going to think it over. But if you read that article through and through, it's pretty impressive. It really states he really likes his teammates. He would feel bad if he let him go. And it really sounds like something a young man would say who's still kind of on a high school team. But you know what? He may stay. Who knows? What if he pulls the shocker of the world and stays, works on his game? Because he says in the article as well, if you read it, folks, it's a good read, AJC.com. If you read through it, he'll tell you exactly why, the reasons he could stay and get better and maybe improve his draft stock and do the same thing next year. So who knows?
Yeah, who knows? We shall see. We shall see. So, do you guys want to start going on to the first topic and move into some kind of serious stuff and how this COVID is affecting sports, coronavirus, and all that, COVID-19? Or you want to talk about something else first?
Right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
There's
a lot to it. There's a lot to it. It's taking its toll not only just in the regular whole wide world. The WHO just said it's a global pandemic. It's also taking its toll on the sports world. So we're going to talk about it. What are your thoughts on the spread of the virus, guys, and how will this virus continue to affect the sport leagues around the world? We're talking about the NCAA said no fans for now. So what do you think, JJ?
Yeah, it's going to continue to have major ripple effects throughout all major sports leagues. And I'm talking from the pros down to the little leagues to your average church league. This thing's going to be big. You're going to see a lot of teams, a lot of players, a lot of athletes start coming down with it. We already see, it looks like the first case I can see with an athlete, I just got word from Bleacher Report before the show. Juventus defender has the coronavirus. So major athletes getting coronavirus now. Hopefully that doesn't continue to spread. That is an Italian Premier League. So, hey, that's one of the major forefronts of the disease, the virus right now. The Golden State Warriors, they're not playing. I think, as we mentioned earlier, they're not playing in front of fans in tomorrow's game. The NCAA men's and women's basketball tourneys are going to be played without fans for the foreseeable future. Mark Emmert, the NCAA president, also mentioned the possibility of relocating the Final Four to a small venue. Hello, the Final Four is at the Mercedes-Benz stadiums.
Right.
This is going to affect everything locally as well, folks.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, the Big 12 and the Big 10 tourneys, they're going to proceed without fans. Michigan canceled its spring football game on April 18th. And also they canceled their trip overseas. The team goes overseas every spring for some practice and to tour places and significant places around the world and et cetera. So, it's one of those situations where it is going to have a ripple down effect. It is a pandemic now, a worldwide pandemic. But, when you look at the numbers, I mean, there's a lot of this virus is not, they're showing that this virus is not as deadly as the flu. A lot of people are, putting on Twitter, Clay Travis, as you guys all know. Clay Travis is on Outkick.com, Fox Sports Radio from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. And he's on also Lock It In. It's a show on FS1 that's a pretty highly popular show. He said we're witnessing a fascinating case of study in mass hysteria. He said the coronavirus is less contagious than the flu, and based on South Korean data, has a death rate of 0.6% for those who are affected. 99.4% of us all is infected, regardless of age, recover. So, the question I present to the two of you, Stephanie and JJ, is that are we overreacting to this? Steph, you go first.
I say we are not overreacting to it. And just as the amount of spread that's happening worldwide, I think it is important to take these precautions because they don't know as much about coronavirus as they know about other medical scenarios. So it is a work in progress till they get their hands around it a little bit better. You do have to take the precautions. What do you think, JJ?
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards the precautionary side. I do think maybe they are taking a little too much precaution. I think maybe what the Mavericks did tonight, I saw a live shot on them before the show here on ESPN, them giving out hand sanitizer before the game. I think thorough cleaning, what Fulton County Schools did, close down for a couple days, do a thorough cleaning. I think those things are kind of precautionary, but for shutting down something like the Final Four and moving it to a smaller event, you're talking something from 65, 70,000 fans dropping down to 20,000. Few fans.
Less than that.
It's going to be a significant impact on the economy. So there is something to be said on both sides, but I'm leaning more with Stephanie on the precautionary side. I think this has to be done. I mean, you're talking. What if 2 or 3 people have it? Because we do know that people can have the symptoms and not show, and be contagious and spread the symptoms to other people. So that's the big problem right now. China, Italy have gone under complete quarantine. Pretty much can't leave your own home. So it's a widespread pandemic, as you both have mentioned from the WHO. I think precautions are necessary, but I am leaning. I don't know, just like TC said, the numbers are there, but those are early numbers. We got to see more information, and that's why I'm indifferent. But it is going to make a major ripple effect.
If you don't mind me saying, your wife's pregnant, so something like that, it can be very vulnerable to this. So your wife needs to take those precautions. You've got people over 60 years old and they need to take precautions. You have people that don't have a strong upper respiratory system. They need to take precautions. But generally, as a rule, for the rest of us, we would survive it if we did get it. But we're all supposed to take precautions, no matter if we're exception to the rule or not. You got the NHL playoffs are coming. The NBA playoffs are coming. They still have regular season games to go. You've got Major League Baseball, spring training. What are all these organizations going to do? I mean, the NBA said, like you said already in San Francisco, the Warriors that have faced the Nets in an empty Chase Center. What's going to happen? Like you said with the Mavericks, they're going to go with a hand sanitizer and et cetera. You got to remember, these athletes on the field, they're in contact with one another throughout the entire game. Basketball is a contact sport. Hockey's a contact sport. Baseball can definitely be a contact sport. So what are these organizations going to do? That's the big question coming up. Are they going to follow suit with the NCAA tournament?
You'll see a lot of it. The Mariners are planning on playing the first 2 weeks of their regular season TC at their spring training facility. Is the last I heard. That's the reports. Now, those are the early reports. They may relocate elsewhere, but right now they're getting out of Washington because the pandemic's so bad in the Seattle area. The Major League Soccer team as well. The Sounders plan to play all their games on the road currently. This is going to be widespread. Like I said, it sounds funny, But this is going to go from the pros down to the little leagues, down to your average church league. This is going to start
Well,
affecting a lot of
I'm
things.
glad you mentioned Little League because I got an email just before we came on the air about my kids used to play through the Sandy Plains Baseball Organization, and now they've got somebody with the coronavirus at this school. And it's an elementary school near that field here in Metro Atlanta. And now these people aren't going to be. If you're playing ball, you can't come to this field for 2 weeks. You gotta go in quarantine. But I still think the little leagues and all that will play ball. I mean, I work for a couple of youth sports organizations. They haven't made any moves or any indications that they're going to cancel anything thus far. We shall see in the future, but I don't think so unless it becomes really serious. Steph, now what do you think of all this in regards to the sporting events? Are you for them playing the tournament without fans?
I'm for whatever is safe. It's not going to be the same. It's not going to be flat. So someone said, one of the pros said, well, I'm not going to be playing if there's no fans, but this is something that we have not seen before. You got to think about sports and everything else. So sports is a gathering of a lot of people. They canceled South by Southwest. They canceled Coachella is going to be canceled. All of these different major things, which, yes, they're also money makers, they're also going to be canceled. So you just have to, until they get their hands around this, if we can get them hands around it soon, if the WHO saying it's a global pandemic, it is. And perhaps, I go out and say, maybe there's more to it than what they're actually telling us here in the U.S. if it's so far-reaching in these other countries. So it's something to think about.
Yeah, Steph,
it sure is. I mean, it definitely is something to think about. As we end this topic here, let's bring on one of our callers. Lou in New Jersey is on the line. Lou, welcome to ATL Prime Sports with Stephanie, TC, and JJ. What do you think of all this, Lou, in regards to the pandemic and sports organizations playing sports without fans in the stands?
Well, obviously, it's become more serious than we thought. I mean, we thought that this is going to be under control and life would proceed as normal. But now that we are facing with this major crisis, you wonder, should this even be played at all? I mean, because contact with the players and with sickness going around, it's gonna transcend even greater than that. So, I mean, they're safe and sorry.
So you think they should cancel the NCAA tournament?
I think they should cancel all events, period.
Well, you know what? That's an interesting thought. I respect what you're saying. I respect it. I don't agree with it, but I respect what
I don't like the idea myself, but, I mean, better safe than sorry.
Well, let me ask you this, then. Do you think the United States should just go ahead and shut its border down, let everybody come in here that's an American that lives here, we quarantine them for 2 weeks, test them, let nobody else fly out? I mean, if we're going to that extreme, nobody can leave, only people can come in. I mean,
that's what they did in Italy.
I know it. You're right. Look, I'm just saying, do we need to go to that extreme?
I hope we don't.
Cancel the tournament. I don't know if they need to cancel the tournament. I'm not sure if I even necessarily agree with them not putting fans in the stands. But then again, I guess the point is people come from all over the world to watch this NCAA tournament. So It's not only people from the United States, it is people from all over the world. So if you don't want to spread it, don't let nobody in. I do get it. But I'm on the fence whether to have fans in the stands or not. I'm on the fence. Stephanie,
how do you play without fans?
Stephanie, are you on the fence with that, or do you want the fans? Won't it be weird to listen to like a basketball game with no fans in the stands? You hear the dribbling better. If you're listening to a hockey game, you're going to hear sticks, pucks, skates. You're going to hear checks better up against the boards. It's going to be interesting for a viewer. But Stephanie, what do you think? Stay with us, Lou. What do you think, Steph? Or do you think they're doing the right thing by having fans not in the stands?
I still think better safe than sorry. Think of all of those surfaces they're going to be touching as they come in, all of the seats and the railings and the bathrooms and just the closeness of everybody. Yes, it's going to be completely different. Maybe for the players, it'll feel like they're only at practice. They don't have that. If they feed off of the roar of the crowd and that whole crowd reaction, then it's going to be different and hard for them. Maybe they don't go as hard in practice as they do out at the real game. So it's going to be different. It's going to be different if they televise it and there's no fans. How's that going to go? So, yeah, it's going to be different. But, again, health is more important than anything, as we all know. And I think until they really know, like they said, they're going to take it week by week. Is that what they said? Until they figure out toward the Final Four and up to each of the college games how they're going to handle it. But if I had a college player playing, I'd like it to be safe, as a parent.
Yeah.
So,
sure. No, hey, that's another interesting perspective. JJ,
fan, player, coach.
Stay with us, Lou, on the line. We still want to
Lou. Stay with us.
JJ, what do you think about that?
I'm indifferent.
You're like me.
I see both sides because I see the security guard that now has no work. I see the
great point.
That has no people to sell Final Four gear to when the Final Four is supposed to be at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, to 60,000 instead of 20,000. There's a lot.
I don't even think there'll be 20,000. I think they'll go to a smaller venue than that.
I personally think they need to put fans in the stands, but I think the smaller venues is the way to go. I think the way to do it is sanitize. Smaller the venue, the easier to sanitize, the more to control as Stephanie said, the bathrooms, the areas where a lot of people are going to commune, like eating areas, concessions. So we'll have to monitor the situation. But personally, I'm on the fence. I really can't call it right now, to be honest.
Well, you know what, though? We've all had different perspectives on it. That's awesome. I kind of like it because it makes for a great discussion. Lou, anything else on your mind besides the coronavirus?
Well, I think for today, no. But, I'm just hoping that, things do improve. And, I'm not against, smaller venues. I mean, the smaller the crowd, the less, come into contact with, all that. So if that's the case it's got to be, then that's what it's got to be. It'd be better than canceling altogether.
Hey, Louie, you're a Yankees fan. We were messing with JJ earlier about Mark Rick wearing a Georgia Tech shirt, because Rick was a coach at Georgia for 15 years, and, people were freaking out. Let me see. If Joe Torre wore a Boston Red Sox jersey, would you go, hey, Joe, is that your coronavirus protection suit, or you just working for Major League Baseball and putting on different uniforms for the day? So,
I'll go with option B.
What do you think of that?
I'll go with option B. I don't think it's a coronavirus gear.
Right. Just call it a coronavirus suit and go on. Well, hey, we can wear our rival stuff. There's nothing wrong with it.
No, but you look awfully ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm a Michigan grad, but I have a Michigan State beanie. I break it out every once in a while.
Oh, that's bad news.
Well, you know what I do? I just wash my hair thoroughly and hope I don't get any, license thing. Other than that, I'm just fine.
Hopefully you'll get recognized.
Our rival stuff. I think JJ looks good in Georgia Tech if we don't know about it. Stephanie, you look good in the Falcons shirt. You're an Eagles fan.
I got to do it sometimes, though, right? For work.
I mean, look at it this way. Say you're all right. Well, not exactly the same thing, but say you're going to like an Eagles game, and you're wearing a Giants uniform. You would not believe the reaction and the hatred that you would get when you walk in that stadium. They will razz you to death. They will boo you. They throw bottles at you, whatever. You got to be careful what you wear at the opposing stadium.
This is true.
Yeah.
Well, Lou, thanks for calling in this evening. We got to move on. Shout out your show real quick, and we'll talk to you next week.
Okay, it's called "Don't Wear the Enemy's Uniform." No, it's called. That's next week's show. No, anyway, no. The enhanced sports show. We're on 5 to 7 Eastern time. We're gonna carry the coronavirus, the NFL collective arguing disagreement update. I mean, collective bargaining agreement update. Sorry. Hey, that's what it is. That's what I call it, because before you get with the agreement, you're just arguing all the time. So think about it.
You know what? Go ahead, Lou. I'm sorry.
The number is 512-543-4662, or to put that in other words, the I Hate Creighton fan club. Oh boy. Yuck. If I live this long, I'll talk to you next week.
All right, Lou.
Bye.
Great call. Great call.
Gotta love Lou. He's great.
Speaking of the collective bargaining agreement, just real quick, I think the players, JJ, got to take this. This really helps the younger players. I know it's kind of not on our topic, but list of topics, but it really helps out the younger players, the players that are going to play 4 years and under, which the average NFL player is going to play. Plus, they can get, the players' profit sharing moves from 47% almost to 48.5%. That's 1.5% where they're sharing the entire pie. The players that have long standing in the NFL, they're still getting their money. So you would think they would be for the younger players to have the average guy class in the league to have the stronger pie. I know the biggest thing, JJ, is the 17th game. That I understand. They're moving the preseason game. I know preseason game is not the same as the regular season game. Plus, that some team would have to play an extra playoff game to get to the Super Bowl. But you know what? The money's there, and I'm the players. This is the best offer they're going to get. It's only going to get worse from here. What do you think?
I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of tough. If I'm a player, as a former football player, I don't like the idea of more football in a season. I don't care who you are. You're still dropping a preseason game, but all you're really doing is giving the new guy, the 52nd, 53rd guy on the roster, less chances to make the team. Your big guys have made the team. Your money makers are on the team at that point. So there's some pros and cons. It's a toss. It's going to be their best. Go ahead.
I was going to say it's their best offer they're going to get. It's only going to get worse.
Sure, it may be their best offer, but the players are always thinking that they can get more. They really
good luck
do.
With that.
And there's talks where the owners are talking about an 18th game with even more money on the table.
Now I know. You're right.
Overall, you really should take this deal if you're a player. And it's not anywhere to do with the 17th regular season game. It's the extra playoff game. That's where you can really make your money if you're that 53rd guy. If you're that playoff, that special team guy on the playoff team, you get an extra $25,000 just for making the playoffs, for being on that team and being that 53rd man. That's a huge amount of money for a lot of people. So I do think this will probably pass, but I don't think it'll pass with flying colors. I think it's going to pass about 53%. They only need 51%. It's going to be fun to watch what unfolds. Let's move on, I guess, unless we want to continue.
And now we'll go ahead and go to the second topic, Steph.
All right, let's talk about something else here. 3 of the 4 major pro sport leagues have recently proposed postseason format changes. Got to ask you, why does the NHL continue to not join in on that discussion? And what do you guys think of all the playoff change proposals of the other leagues? PC, what do you think?
Well, it's amazing. The NHL is one of those leagues where the 16-team playoff, I could go back. They haven't expanded the NHL. They haven't expanded the playoff field. In 40 years, they haven't expanded it. And I don't think they're going to expand it. 40 years ago, there were 16 teams that were in the NHL. 21 teams were in the NHL. 6 teams made the playoffs. 16 out of 21. Now the league has grown to 32 teams, and there's still a 16-team playoff. The sentiment in the NHL is that if you continue to do this, there is an appetite for change. They've talked about a few proposals, but they don't want the regular season to be watered down anymore. Once you get in the playoffs and you're an 8 seed in the NHL, you got a shot to upset the number 1 seed. It's not like in the NBA. In the NFL, you do have a shot, but the NHL, of all the 4 major sports, hockey is definitely the most unpredictable playoff. Now, a lot of people will say, they'll go, well, that's the case. You're making the case for me right there. Let's let more teams in. But look, you're going 82 games. They don't take games off in the NHL. They play hard every game. And, they're not going to do it. They're going to add NBA. What's that?
So what, are you taking a shot at the NBA?
No, I'm not taking a shot at the NBA. I'm just telling you right now, they play defense in the NHL. I mean,
I was kidding.
No, I mean, I'm kidding. I'm glad you asked, but we know the NBA. They're going to have sweeping changes to its format in the league's April meetings, and includes a play-in tournament, which we said includes a 17 seed hosting an 8 seed, and the winner was securing the 7 seed in the conference. Then the loser faces the 9 versus 10, and blah blah blah. So I'm not for that, but and then of course the 2 teams from the same conference could make the playoffs. For example, the Lakers could face the Clippers. So in the NHL it's status quo. The NFL, the CBA, we just talked about it, trying to add a team, and then Major League Baseball, they want to add, another wild card team in the AL and one in the NL. And to me, you're just going to water it down. It's too much. I like what the NHL's doing. They're keeping traditional format. What about you, JJ?
Yeah, I'll start off with this. The NBA is expected to discuss per ESPN. To expand its regular season, change its regular and postseason formats at the meetings in April. They're going to discuss it. The NFL is considering adding more teams, more games, as we just discussed.
Yep.
And of course, Major League Baseball and its ridiculous new format proposal. The NHL should stay put. Like you said, they've stayed put for 40 years. You have 16 teams make the playoffs currently. Currently, it's still more than half the league until Seattle joins, next year?
Yeah, it's exactly half the league now, and Seattle will join. That that'll help.
I think you're right. Anything more waters down the regular season. You're right. These guys play hard. Many sports analysts, including myself, I do think that's the hardest trophy to win is the Stanley Cup. So I think adding more teams with that would be making it extremely hard for the top seeds because, like you said, there is a lot of parity in the NHL. It's up there with the NFL. It's probably the most parable league in professional sports in America. So and they go back and forth. And like you said, that is the most unpredictable sports playoffs probably in the world. You really can't predict an NHL playoff. So that's why it's so fun to watch. But Commissioner Gary Bettman told ESPN in January that there had been no formal discussions on that. So it looks like the superiors are kind of saying the same thing we are, TC. But it seems like the players, especially like Seth Jones of the Blue Jackets, he thinks it'd be a good thing for the league. So
yeah, there are players that don't mind it. You know why? It's more money. Yeah. It is about the money. Everything comes back to the money. You're right. Even the coronavirus, it's all about money. They can tell you whatever they want. It's like Major League Baseball. There's another thing in there where they try to expand the team from, like I said, expand the playoff team from 10 to 14. I mean, I'm not with it. But then again, it is about the money. And if they can settle with the money issue, then they'll go ahead and do it. It's more money for the owners and the players. And the players, it is a business. So I completely understand. Like as Stephanie would say, show me the money and show me the Philadelphia Eagles.
Show me the money.
Show me the money.
Show me the Eagles. Don't talk about my Eagles like that.
My Eagles.
That's right,
Eagles.
the Eagles. And you're not wearing a Falcons. You're not wearing a Falcons jersey, right?
Not today, but I have my sons. I have 3 sons, and we moved a lot. One was born in Virginia. He's not a Skins fan. He don't care. The second one was born in Georgia, and he is a Falcons fan. The third was born in Pennsylvania, and he's an Eagles fan, as you call it. So I got to have a little both in my. So I bought a lot of Falcons paraphernalia. I bought a lot of Eagles paraphernalia for them. So me personally, I have a shirt from work. So hey, because we represent Falcons at work, and I don't think I have an Eagles shirt, but I used to have an Eagles hat. I don't do the paraphernalia a lot because I don't want to offend any of my children in the house. But hey, I just keep it neutral in here.
Keep it neutral. Keep it neutral.
That's right.
Keep it neutral. All right. Let's go to NFL free agency, Steph. What do you think?
All right, let's press on. NFL free agency period officially begins when? Next week. Now, where do you guys think the major free agents are going to land? JJ, what do you think?
Boy, there's a bunch of them.
Let's take one at a time, man.
Oh, let's keep it local right now, and let's start off a little under the radar, but local, big time radar. Where Austin Hooper's going to go? Tight end on the market. Atlanta's can't afford him. He's 25 years young, 2-time Pro Bowler. Got 6 teams interested in him. Packers, Bears, and Washington appear to be the front runners. I'd like to see him paired up with Aaron Rodgers. Boy, that'd be fun to watch.
It would be.
I don't blame him. I honestly think that's where he should go. If I'm him, that's where I'm leaning, because Trubisky and Dwayne Haskins, or possibly Tua Tagovailoa, whatever they decide to do there up there in Washington, could be intriguing. But if that's who's calling me, I'm signing in Green Bay. So let's start off with Austin Hooper. I think Green Bay might be a solution.
I'll pick New England. They need a tight end desperately. I would like to see him stay with the Falcons, but once again, what is the word that we go back to?
Show
the money.
Show me the money.
Right, exactly. So I say he goes to New England, and that leads me to the next one, Tom Brady. Now, the New England's just sitting back, JJ, wait for the this collective bargaining agreement to get resolved one way or another, franchise tag, to find out what it is, find out all the numbers, and then they can make a decision what they're going to do with Tom Brady. Honestly, I think he goes back to New England, but if he does leave, my bet is the Titans. He was a teammate of Mike Vrabel, who's the head coach there. They have an excellent running game with Henry. They've got elite wide receivers and tight ends. They've got a good offensive line, barring they keep Jack Conklin, who went to Michigan State. If they keep him, I could definitely see him going to Tennessee.
See, this is where we disagree.
Either A or B. Either A or B. What are you?
If he leaves, I'm with you. I'm pretty sure New England's going to re-sign him. But
I'm not. I have no clue. It's a guess for me.
If he does leave, I think he'll go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Oh, my goodness. Why?
Bruce Arians has worked with Peyton Manning, Carson Palmer. He has made players turn back the clock, make them look really good. You got 2 great wide receivers, 1 third young one, and Brashard Perryman. You're going to have to look outside and guard Mike Evans and Chris Godwin with Tom Brady throwing them the football, and you mean to tell me that's crazy? I think you're crazy. They had 2,000-yard receivers with Jameis Winston. Think what Bruce Arians can do with Tom Brady, 2,000-yard receivers, and a decent running back. Unfortunately, TC, that is a good option, and that would be unfortunate for the Atlanta Falcons, because that would immediately put the Tampa Bay Buccaneers one above the Atlanta Falcons, maybe even one above everybody else in the division. With Drew Brees declining, this team would be primed and ready for Tom Brady.
They don't have the personnel that
99
Tennessee
pick.
does on defense. That they're not as good as defensive team as
It doesn't
Tennessee.
matter about defense in the NFL if you score enough points, TC. That's been proven. Look at the Kansas City.
Usually the best defense, the team that plays the best defense at the end of the year wins it. In Kansas City,
Ask San Francisco how that
saying they
worked out
didn't have a great defense did play the best defense at the end of the year, even better than San Francisco.
Ask San Francisco how defense worked out for him this year.
Well, that's what I just said. Kansas City played better defense than San Francisco. That's why they won it at the end. Who's playing the best defense? Always does.
Anyway.
So, Brett thinks he's going to the Raiders. The guy at the board, he thinks he's going to Vegas. Stephanie, would you want to see Tom Brady in Vegas?
No. Well, Vegas could use him, could they?
Who could use him?
Because you said Vegas?
Yeah, you could go to the Vegas Raiders. The Raiders are now in Vegas.
They would love it, I'm sure, if they're going to win.
Oh, my. They're going to
sell
it every game. They'll sell it every game whether Tom Brady shows up or not. But could you imagine
the
go to the Raiders?
Sound bites with Tom Brady?
Tom Brady can be doing car commercials on the strip. He's been doing car commercials. He could be doing commercials for the public relations for the city of Las Vegas, for the commercialization. Come to Vegas and watch me and the Raiders play, and then you go to the strip afterwards and have a great time. That's what our opponent does, and that's why we beat him. That could be a slogan going to Vegas. All right, let's go to let's see, quarterback Dak Prescott. JJ, we think he's going to go to Dallas. Everybody does. Do you think he'll be franchise tagged? I do.
You do. I think they'll find something. I think this is one of those situations where you're going to have to wait for that CBA. Whatever happens with that CBA, I think Jerry Jones is going to want to make him the highest paid quarterback in the league. I think he'll do it by just a bump more of $500,000. I think that's what he wants. I don't think $40 million is feasible, but I think around $38 million a season is. And that's what he's projecting. I think Jerry Jones will write the check. I think he stays put in Dallas.
Wow! Oh no! I don't think the Cowboys go over $30 million. If they may go to 33, but no way do they go over that kind of money. How are they going to pay Cooper? I know they paid everybody else, and we can go through who they paid. They paid Smith, they paid Zeke Elliott, they paid so on and so forth. So,
hey, I'm just going with that. I feel with what I've been reading, and honestly, they seem like they're going to pay Dak Prescott a lot of money.
Man, I don't know. I think Dallas has the number, and they're not going to go above it, and they're going to franchise tag him, and then we'll see how it works out this season. But that's interesting. Very interesting.
Franchise tag would cut him around $30 million anyway. So,
what about Teddy Bridgewater, man? Where does he go? Because he's not staying with New Orleans. Breeze is there. You know who the backup will be.
There's talks that if they because they're making Taysom Hill
right,
hard to come after. So
right,
it would seem like they're leaning more towards Taysom Hill. You're right. It seems like he would leave, but there's also lucrative deals and plenty of articles out there that would lean in the fact that he's going to stay put. Maybe he'll be the heir of hair. Maybe someone will take a first-round waiver on Taysom Hill and go take a first-round pick on him. I don't know.
You think Teddy Bridgewater stays in New Orleans?
I don't. I'm just reading articles that said. Personally, this is one I couldn't call it. It's going to be a who needs basis. I think a perfect fit would be a team like the Chicago Bears. But I don't know if they're going to go after a free agent quarterback or if they're going to stick with Trubisky or if they're going to draft a quarterback.
Or maybe they'll use him as competition for Trubisky and Cam.
Maybe they will.
He'll go to the Buccaneers.
He's a savvy vet. He's a winning quarterback. Went 5-0. Serviceable. Didn't blow your numbers off. But guess what? He was 5-0. 5-0 is 5-0 in the NFL. So
Sure is.
But I do think if you pull it out, you say, JJ, you got to make a pick. Where's Teddy Bridgewater going? I do think I would have to say the Chicago Bears are going to sign a free agent quarterback.
I can see him going to Tampa Bay maybe. Because I don't know if Jameis is coming back.
Bruce Arians, like I said, absolutely. That'd be a cheaper of the two bunch, I'm assuming.
Ryan Tannehill, where does he go if he doesn't go to if he doesn't come back to the Titans?
I'm confident he gets franchise tagged by Tennessee. Boom, done.
Phillip Rivers can go to Tampa Bay. This is what we do know for sure. The domino ends and starts with Tom Brady. Once he's fit into the slot, we're going to get we're going to get the answers for the rest of them.
Yeah, we will.
We know Dak's staying. We know Dak and Drew are staying. And then when Brady signs, we find out what the cap number is and the CBA and all that other jazz to see if he gets passed. Then it's just going to flow right downhill from there.
Yep, I think it'll go 1 Tom Brady, 2 Phillip Rivers. I think then you'll see the rest fall into play.
You could be right. Phillip Rivers could go to Tampa. He's living in South Florida. He could. That
brings us probably to our next free agent there.
Oh, yeah.
Phillip Rivers. I think I do think he's the second one to fall off. I'm very, very confident. The Colts, from what I've been reading from several articles, it seems like the Colts are very high on Phillip Rivers. The Buccaneers have been in contact with Phillip Rivers as well. There's several teams. I've heard Miami. But if I'm Phillip Rivers and I'm choosing which team I want to go, I'm going to Indianapolis. T.Y. Hilton's out there, got a decent running back, young running back, good offensive line. I'd go to Indianapolis.
We're going to find out, that's for sure. There's no doubt about it. So, Steph, let's do Falcons free agent needs. The draft is next month.
Hey, say that again?
Oh, I'm sorry. The NFL draft is next month. What are the fellas talking about there on 92.9, the game in terms of the Falcon needs? And we'll see if they differ from me and JJ. What are they talking? Are you hearing what the fellas are saying that they'll take at 16 in the draft? Are you?
No, I haven't been able to hear them too much because I'm doing 3 stations, so I can't always listen to their full show. But I'll ask you in the morning what he's talking about on that one for sure.
You can listen to them and listen to the traffic report at the same time and have it all done.
I need like 6 ears, maybe 8.
Oh, man, you've only got 2? Crap. I'm sorry.
Something happened there.
Yeah,
can't hear it all, but I'm checking with those guys and see what they're talking about on that.
We can get them on next week. Get one of them on next week, comparing what me and JJ are going to say. So
there you go.
Me, I think the Falcons need help on the defensive line, and they take AJ Espinoza from Iowa. How about you, JJ?
I'm right there with you. But I'll tell you what, this collective bargaining agreement has me pondering. What do the Falcons do with that first overall pick if they end up cutting Devontae Freeman? Do they go DeAndre Swift, the best running back in the draft, according to Mel Kiper Jr.?
I knew you were going there. I knew it.
That's the best player on the board. If you're going to ask, and they did it a couple years ago, and don't tell me they won't do it again. They're one of the more active teams in the first round. Wouldn't most likely, if you're asking me, gun to my head, what they're doing, I bet you they'll trade it. And they did it in 2008, 2011, 2013, 2017, and last year. They traded back up into the first round or traded their first round pick down or up. They do it a lot. Dimitroff is a habitual first round trader. So maybe they trade it, but if DeAndre Swift is there, they may do the best player on the board like they did with Calvin Ridley a couple years ago. But I'm with you. They need
you know what, JJ?
I'm on your side with AJ.
But you know what, though? I'm on your side in terms of going for the best player available. And if Swift from UGA is there, I can see them picking him in a heartbeat. And Devontae Freeman, they would probably cut him.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It really depends on this collective bargaining agreement. If these players vote on that bargaining agreement, it increases the payroll. They're going to say goodbye to Devontae Freeman right now, and that is what they will do. That is exactly what they'll do because they're going to have to because they don't have a healthy running back. Ito Smith is having concussion issues. This would be the pick. So if that happens, if the dominoes per se fall in place, that's exactly what's going to happen. If the collective bargaining agreement gets signed and the Falcons cut Devontae Freeman, they will draft DeAndre Swift with the 16th pick.
And we all know running back is way down the list of their needs. We know their biggest need is an edge rusher. That's why I said A.J. Espinoza from Iowa. They need a linebacker. So, somebody else to watch, the kid from Penn State, Gross Matos. So, that's another player to look for. So, hey, day two, who knows where they could be looking in day two. It all depends on day one. So, but they need a linebacker. But another edge rusher I mentioned from Penn State, another prospect to watch, is Curtis Weaver, the edge out of Boise State. Mm-hmm. So, but I'm thinking Espinoza to me or Gross Matos from Penn State. Those are the two players. Or, LSU's K. Le'Veon Chason. He could step right in and contribute as an outside linebacker.
AtlantaFalcons.com blogger has K'Lavon Chaisson as the Falcons' 16th overall pick. We know we're going to lose out on Campbell, and boom, there we go. Nice fit, outside linebacker. Chaisson won a national championship. I'm right there with you. That's not a bad pick either.
No, it's just going to be one of those three players. I don't think it'll be the kid from Boise State, but it is a prospect to watch. But you want the safe pick. That's what I would do. But then again, Campbell, do you think he's going to be with the Falcons?
That's the thing. It comes down to if the Falcons sign anybody in free agency, that's who they should sign. It helps.
Devontae Campbell?
Yes, and it helps the team more than Austin Hooper. I hate to say that. I honestly was splitting hairs on this decision all offseason. Campbell Hooper. You got to let Hooper go because you look at the Hooper receptions. A lot of them were in garbage time, folks. It's kind of like
he's a good tight end. No, that's not fair.
Yards.
JJ, that's not fair to do that to Hooper. I agree with you, though, about Campbell.
But that's what I mean.
Is the guy you signed.
I'm not doing that to Hooper. I'm not doing that. I'm just saying look at the statistics there. What helps the team more is the defensive player than the tight end?
Because you can always go get the dime a dozen tight end out there. You can get them. They're easier to get than a great outside linebacker like Campbell. I agree with you. I would keep Campbell, sign him if you can, and I would draft the edge rusher. I just think you can get
you also have an interior guy you could work with Grady Jarrett and Javon Kinlaw. A lot of people have talked about him there, building the interior lineman. But I don't see that. I see that as a stretch. I see Chaisson, I see Espinoza, or I really see DeAndre Swift if those dominoes fall.
Well, Swift is it's not something neat. I know he'd be a dynamic pick, but I think you can get a running back in the third and fourth round. I do for value. So, you can definitely you can get a value.
The Falcons have a lot of picks in the first 78 pick. They have 4 picks in the first 78 picks, folks. That's 4 in the first 3 rounds. That's 4 solid players that the Falcons need to hit on. That's 16, 47, and 55 in the second round, and pick 78 in the third. So those are going to be key positions. You're right. Where they go, what do they do with those picks in 2 and 3? It's going to make the season.
It is, no doubt about it. We do agree to disagree on the running back, but We do agree. And Stephanie, you're going to compare notes, see what them guys say from 92 on the game. Get them on here next week, and JJ and I will we'll see if we agree with them. What do you think?
All right. Yeah. So I'm sure they're probably along the same lines as you guys, but we shall see. We shall see. Let's check it out. You want to go on to the next topic, or where are we here? Let's see.
Let's see. We can go to a caller. Let's go to Wayne in Memphis. He's on the line.
Wayne in Memphis. Hey, Wayne. Welcome to the show.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. I heard y'all talking about the, offense for Atlanta, maybe having to pick up somebody in the draft. Memphis only has two people that were invited to the combine. One was a running back named Taylor, and the other was a wide receiver named Gibson. But I really think that Atlanta, like you said, needs to focus on some defensive players.
Yeah. He's thinking like me and JJ.
I would like to see the Falcons focus on the defensive side of the football, but there is that domino effect, and I know I sound like a broken record here, but if that collective bargaining agreement is signed, the Falcons have verbally said that they would cut Devontae Freeman, which would then open up a running back position that is at your top need at that moment.
Yeah, if they release Freeman, it is.
And that would be DeAndre Swift. But I am with you. I'm with TC. I think they'll go AJ Espinoza out of Iowa. If not Espinoza, maybe the Boise State guy. But again, a lot of people think he may be able to be gotten in 2 or 3. But we'll see.
Yeah.
But AJ Espinoza to me is the guy you need. What I'm reading about him, he compares to Vic Beasley coming out of college. Hopefully, he gets a little more effort than Vic Beasley does. But we'll see. Vic, I know Vic may go to another scheme and have a really great season. Who knows? We'll see what Vic Beasley does. But AJ Espinoza could be that guy. Wayne, who do you think the Falcons are going to draft?
I don't. At this point, I was unaware of how that collective bargaining agreement was going to work out, and that they were thinking about dropping, their receiver or running back to go for that, or to clear room or something. But I've kind of been away from football for so long that I've probably got a lot of catching up to do. But like I said, the most current thing I know about football is that the combine was up. Memphis had 2 players that got invited to that. I'm not sure how they did in that combine, but they are both on the offensive side of the football. And, Memphis had a really good offense this year. They just, like the Falcons, didn't really have much on defense, and that's why they were involved in a lot of high-scoring games.
Wayne, were you wearing your coronavirus protective suit? For you, since your Rangers jersey so poetically, it would be the Houston Astros jersey? Is that why you're all distracted, don't know what's going on with football? You're wearing that coronavirus protective suit?
Actually, it's because I've been kind of wrapped up in the March Madness basketball.
March Madness basketball?
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of coronavirus and March Madness, do you think, Wayne, that the fans should not be in the stands? Do you think the NCAA did the right thing playing the game in an empty arena, playing the tournament in an empty arena?
Well, I can understand their concern. I don't really like it to go that way, but if you're gonna err on the side of caution, that's the right thing to do. I went to all of the home games, and even in the FedEx Forum, a modern facility like that, you still touch a lot of stuff with your hands. And some of it you're unaware of until you think about it. And there's plenty of opportunity for you to inadvertently touch your face, whether you're rubbing your eyes, whatever, during the course of a game. And, it really, when you think about it, can be kind of a risky situation. And plus, you're eating a lot of finger food type stuff there, whether it be popcorn or whether it's, a soda, something like that you're handling with your hands.
Sure, and if you're wearing that protective coronavirus suit, which in your case would be a Houston Astros jersey, you probably wouldn't get anything at all.
No, it'd be a Texas Ranger jersey.
Well, see, but knowing that you're a Rangers jersey, you wear an Astros jersey, everybody's going to run away from you.
Yeah, well, maybe, or they just play funny songs when you enter the stadium.
Well, I saw the sign.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yes, that's what the Braves played yesterday at their spring training game when the Astros came in to warm up. They played.
Yeah.
They played the song "I Saw the Sign." And Stephanie,
Yeah.
Isn't that hilarious?
That is. Oh my
gosh. Memphis, going back to the basketball, they play East Carolina tomorrow, last game of the first round of the American Conference conference tournament, which means they play at 9 o'clock Central, so it'll be 10 o'clock y'all's time. It's a really, really late game. And in the SEC, the big surprise there, I guess for everybody, was the fact that Mississippi State leapfrogged Florida and got into the double bye, so they won't be playing until Friday.
Wow. And you know what? The Big Ten and the Big 12, those tournaments are going to be played not in front of fans starting tomorrow. But the SEC right now, they still plan on having fans in their tournament. So that's interesting that each conference is going in a different direction.
Yeah, I think the American Conference is going to have fans in the stands. And I imagine they'll just have to tell people, listen, you're responsible for your own hygiene. And we just have to see where it goes from there. But, I think that people really should take a lot of personal responsibility and realize that when you're out in public, you need to be aware of washing your hands before you eat and not touching your face. Because you're going to have your hands on stuff, if not for stability, going upstairs or up escalators, but opening doors, closing doors, and everything else. So, it's really tough, too, because I catch myself, especially when I work in front of a computer, rubbing my eyes a lot, and if I were in a public space, that might be a really big issue.
Hey, it's true. We're going to find out. Wayne, thanks so much for calling in this evening. You're such a friend of the show, and thank you. And we'll be talking to you soon.
All right, man. Melissa, take it easy, and we'll see what happens with these tournaments coming up.
Hey, stay safe out there, and wear that coronavirus protective suit.
All right.
All right. So that was
Yes,
Wayne from Memphis. Isn't that awesome? So, a great friend of the show. I guess, Steph, we can go on to the next topic real quick.
All right. We're talk about Skip Bayless.
Skip Bayless. Yeah, there we go.
He said Hawks point guard Trae Young is overrated. Question, is he right?
JJ, you know what? I'm going to stun you here. I'm not saying on offense he's overrated because we all know the numbers and we all know what he's done. But defensively, I'm sorry, he gives it up like the rest of the Hawks. They all play matador defense, and that's why they've lost. They're going to lose 50-plus games this year. Is he right? Overall, no. In some ways, yes. Defensively, he is overrated.
I'm going to say no. He's just young. Trae Young. But he's fourth in the league in scoring. He's second in assists. He's also the fastest player to hit 353 pointers ever.
Yep.
That's faster than Steph. That's faster than Reggie. It's faster than anybody else in the history of basketball. Sure, he can't play defense, but he's really
I didn't say he couldn't play defense. I never said that. I said they don't play defense.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. But is he really motivated this year to do so? I mean, let's judge next season when he's got a full season with John Collins, Kevin Huerter, Cam Reddish, who's really coming around, DeAndre Hunter, with Clint Capella. When he has some defensive help, let's see what happens because he is the point guard. He is the small guy on the floor. you shouldn't expect him to be a physical defender. I mean, he's 6'1". He's one of the smallest guys on the floor when he's out there.
Isaiah Thomas was small, and he defended as good as anybody. Joe Dumars was 6'2". Of course, he had a big, bulky body on him for the Pistons. But, they compare him to Isaiah. They compare him to Steph Curry. Steph Curry plays really good defense. So, to me, I'm sorry I can't give the Hawks a pass. They were supposed to be in the 7th. They were supposed to be in the 8th seed this year, the 7th seed. And guess what? They underachieved as a team. And even though you mentioned all the great numbers for Trae Young, he's still as guilty as the rest of them on the defensive end. I've seen it time and time this season. So I don't give a pass. So Skip Bayless, he's sort of right. He's not overrated offensively. He's a great player. But if you think he's a great defender, he's definitely overrated there. So that's the way I feel.
Yeah, no, I mean, you got your opinions, but
Right.
I'm not going to say he's over. I'm not going to say he's overrated because he's having a bad year on defense. He's year 2. He's on a terrible team. There's not much motivation to play defense on this team. Seems like they're trying to stay in the battle for a lottery pick. So we'll see what happens. They got a chance. Next year to do something pretty impressive, TC.
They were supposed to. You know what?
Next year will be the bar for me. If next year he doesn't improve on the defensive side of the basketball, yeah, I can say he might be a little overrated. But I think this year he's on a team that's not that good on defense. There's only there's 2 young players that are up and coming. Let's give it a 3rd year and see what happens.
Hey, one thing before we bring Chris Pirtle on, he's on the other line. I got breaking news, Stephanie and JJ. The Thunder, Oklahoma City's Thunder's home game was postponed right before tip-off against the Jazz tonight at the Chesapeake Energy Arena on just now. It was postponed before tip-off. I just thought I'd let you know we got another postponement due to the
There you go.
As we bring in Chris Pirtle on the Sports Junkies from Vero Beach, Florida on Friday. Chris, welcome to the show. And let me ask you real quick, because we don't have a whole lot of time. I'm going to ask you the question that Stephanie asked me and JJ. Skip Bayless of FS1's Undisputed says Hawks point guard Trae Young is overrated. Is he correct?
I don't know. The quick answer to that is no. I don't think he's overrated. I don't think anybody is suggesting Trae Young is a complete superstar or a top 5 player in the league. And if nobody's doing that, then there's no way he can be overrated.
He just said, you said what JJ said. Let me ask you, though. He's not a great defensive player. I don't think the Hawks play good defense. I've said it's been matador defense all year. Everybody goes by everybody and scores. I think Trae Young's just as guilty as the other 4 players on the court or any other member on the team. I think if you're going to say he's overrated, it's definitely in the defensive side of the ball. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, well, yeah, he's a liability right now on defense. But like you said, Todd, so are the rest of the Hawks players. Let's keep in mind, this is a young group. When you look at John Collins in his 3rd year, Young in his 2nd year, and then Reddish and Hunter both as rookies. It's going to take time for these guys to learn how to play defense. So it takes time, and nobody really becomes a superstar except for Luka Doncic in their 2nd year.
Yeah, Chris, I said much of the same thing. I said give Trae Young another year. I mean, heck, the guy's young. He's got a terrible team around him. He didn't have John Collins, one of the best defensive players, rim protectors in the league. He didn't have him for 25 games. Herter who's actually come around as a pretty good defender the last 10 or 11 games. He was out with shoulder issues much of the season. Reddish, who's come around and really improved his defensive side of the basketball really well. Hunter was a defensive player in college. Turns out he's been a little offensive player in the NBA. So I'm with you there. I don't think he's had a defense around him to help him out. And I mentioned he's the smallest guy on the floor. So I say much of the same thing. I don't think he's overrated whatsoever. I say give it year 3.
Yeah, and right now they're missing Capella, and of course they're giving up 93 points to the New York Knicks as we speak. with over 3 minutes left to go in the third quarter. So they're on track to give up about 140 points tonight to the Knicks. It's a serious problem. But the young core, when you look at Collins, Reddish, Hunter, Capella, and Trae Young, that's a nice five moving forward. And I think we'll know a lot more this same time next year.
You're right, Chris, in regards to that. And, JJ, you're right in regards to what you said, too. The only thing is this was supposed to happen this season, so you can't give them a pass. They were supposed to be at the 8th seed. You predicted they'd make the playoffs. I predicted they would not make the playoffs because of the defensive issues. And you know what? If they don't fix them next year, they won't make the playoffs next year. Now, Clint Capella helps. Dwayne Dedman helps. But we'll see. But, you know, they give up 119, almost 120 a game. That's really hard to do in the NBA. It's hard. You know, it's not that hard. It's all about effort and want to. And to me, when I watch the Hawks, there's not a lot of effort and there's not a lot of want to unless they have the ball on the offensive end.
I don't disagree at all, Todd. You know, you look at a team like Charlotte, and on paper, you would say the Hawks are probably a better team on paper. But the difference and what makes Charlotte a better team and what makes Charlotte a better team in the standings is they play better defense. And I think a lot of it starts with the coaching staff. I'll give Lloyd Pierce a pass on this because this is a really young group. We're talking about two rookies and a player in his only in his second year who would just be a junior in college. So I'll give him a pass this season because the team is super young, but I need to see something, and I need to see it to start the season within the first 20 or 25 games.
The East is tough. I mean, it really is, Chris. I mean, you've got 6 really solid teams, so you're vying for the 7th and 8th spot next year, and I don't think you're going to pass any of those 6 teams next year with the personnel you have unless you pick up a big-name free agent, and the Hawks ownership group hasn't picked up a big-name free agent since I can't even remember. Can you remember, JJ? When's the last big-time free agent the Hawks picked up? I can't remember.
Probably Paul Millsap. Millsap, I think, was
That's who I was going to say, Paul Millsap, or honestly, maybe Vince Carter, just by strictly name purposes.
But he's 40-something years old.
But that's my point. There hasn't been many. You mentioned Paul Millsap's, but personally, I mean, honestly, for name recognition-wise, Vince Carter.
Yep, you know, the LA Clippers had that. The LA Clippers had that same history going into this past offseason, and they obviously picked up Kawhi Leonard this offseason, first time in their 50-year history as a franchise that they ever had a significant free agent sign with the LA Clippers. So a lot of times the culture has to change. It has to start at the top. We saw it start with the Clippers at the very top with Steve Ballmer, a guy who's worth $51 billion, and it kind of trickled down into guys like Lee Jenkins, Doc Rivers, Jerry West, and look what they have now. So, again, it starts with the culture, and like you said, Todd, with the ownership, they have to be willing to spend the money. I thought we saw a good sign when they took on Clint Capella's 5-year, $90 million deal. That shows they're willing to spend a little money, and hopefully that'll continue.
Well, hopefully it will. Chris, we were going to talk to you about the coronavirus and how it affects sports, but we've ran out of time this evening. Maybe you can come back on next week and we can talk about that because I'm sure there's going to be new developing changes within the next 7 days.
Yeah, I'd be glad to.
Hey, shout out your show real quick on Fridays. I'd like folks to listen to it.
Certainly. You can listen to us on WAXE, that FM 107.9 and AM 1370. If you have the iHeart app, just type in the call letters WAXE. That'll take you right to our station. We're on Fridays from 11 till noon.
Well, Chris, it's been great. I'm glad you called in for last minute. Thanks for the heads up. And you're always welcome on this show. You're a great friend of the show.
Thanks, Todd. Always a pleasure. Have a good evening.
Thanks,
Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you.
So now we'll go. Steph, let's do the last topic, then we're out of here.
All right, last topic's about the Atlanta Braves. You know, they open their season this month, March 26th, versus Arizona Diamondbacks. Guys, who is the one player Atlanta cannot afford to lose. JJ, let's go with you.
To me, everybody might shoot off the bat, say Ronald Acuna, this and that. I'm going to go old school. I'm going to say Freddie Freeman. To me, Freddie Freeman is the player the Braves can least afford to lose. 176 hits last year, 121 RBIs the last year. I believe those are career high. He's the face of this franchise, and I think Freddie Freeman is least affordable to lose.
Can't argue with that. I cannot argue with it at all, but I have to go. You know me, I'm old school. I do think it is Freddie Freeman, but another player you're going to have to give high consideration to is Mike Soroka. He should be the ace of this staff. He was, 13-4 last year with a 2.68 ERA. This kid, this Calgary Alberta native, has a shot to win 20 games. He's that good. His stuff is right there with Smoltz, Glavine, and Maddox. I'm not saying he's as good as they are. Please do not take what I'm saying at that. But this guy has a shot to win 20 games a season every year. And if you lose a 20-game winner in today's Major League Baseball world, that's a gigantic loss. But in the everyday lineup, you'd have to say Freddie Freeman. And, we talked about Freddie, JJ, with that elbow. He's got to play 140-plus games, or the Braves are in trouble offensively.
Say that again. You were breaking up.
I'm sorry. I said you were correct about Freddie Freeman after talking about Soroka. I said we talked about Freddie Freeman's elbow. He's got to stay healthy. He's got to be 140. He's got to play 140-plus games.
For the long run.
You've got to be in this lineup 140-plus games in order for this team to win the division and make a run at the World Series.
Absolutely. To defend their NL East crown, make a run at the NL East NL title and the pennant run, you're going to have them for 140, 145. Last year he played 160, so only missed 2 games, or 161 maybe even, something like that. It was an outrageous number, right around that 160 number. He's going to play a little less than that this year. Hopefully Duvall or maybe he's one of these other utility players. Culberson can give him a night off here and there. But he's going to have to play 140, 145. That elbow is going to have to test the time. And we've already seen some effects in spring training. Hopefully that doesn't pop up in the regular season here coming March 26th.
You're right. He played 158 games last season. He's got to be in the lineup every day. Obviously, you can't lose Acuna. This is a kid. JJ, did you ever play the MLB Vault? You know what that is?
The Vault, never played that one.
Oh, you got to go play it. You got a chance. Steph, you got to go play this too. And then we'll say goodnight. You got to play this. This is awesome. You can go play it. MLB Vault. They'll ask you questions. It'll pertain who's going to win the most MVPs, what team's going to win the most games, what team's going to win the most World Series, who's going to have the most Cy Youngs, who's going to have the most MVPs, who's going to have the most batting titles. It all asks you in there. And you know what? I bet on the New York Yankees to win the most World Series. I bet on the New York Yankees to win the most titles. But I bet on Robert Acuna. Hang on, I'll tell you what I bet on him for. Hang on, I'll pull it up. This is great, JJ. You got to go play it. Steph, you can win $1 million if you do this.
Really? Now, see, now, what do you say? Show me the money.
Show me the money. Here it is.
Money.
Here it is. Here's the admission to my vault. I'm not going to give them all away. Because I want you to copy me, and I've split this $1 million with you. I'm going to be, well, I wouldn't be that ticked off. $1 million, I'd split it with somebody. I'd even split it with you, JJ and Steph.
Hey, thanks.
Thank you.
If we did, we could be the world's best podcast. We could.
There you go.
So home runs, I picked Ronald Acuna. All-Star games, I picked Ronald Acuna. Cy Young, I'm not going to tell you. MVP, I'm not going to tell you. I told you the most wins and the most titles. The rest, I'm not going to tell you, but I'm telling you what.
Well, MVP,
I got Ronald Acuna.
Everybody's going to have the same MVP. If
huh?
you're a baseball fan. Everybody's going to have that MVP one down.
So you think Ron Acuna get the most MVPs?
Nope.
That wasn't my answer neither. But you got to remember,
best player in baseball, and you know who the best player in baseball is, in my opinion. And I'll say it over and over again.
But here's the deal: you got to think 10 years. The answer is we got less than 2 minutes left. You go to www.mlb.com/the-vault, VAULT, and you know what? We won't know the winner of the contest till late 2029. So you got to keep tabs on it. Keep it in your email.
2029. Wow.
Yeah.
You got to wait a while for that money.
Well, right. It's the decade, though. Remember.
Okay. Y'all should put that on. We should put it on our social media page so people can go ahead and do that.
Yeah. So if you put MVP votes down, put Mike Trout.
Okay, but is he going to do it for the most in the next 10 years?
Yes.
You got to consider his age. He's ahead of the younger players. But anyway,
only by like 6 years, so give him in there.
A lot of projecting. I do a lot of projecting here, huh?
That's cool.
Well, back to you too. I guess that's the end of our show. We can all go and goodbye.
Any final thoughts, guys? Final thoughts?
Nope. That's my final thought. And wear your coronavirus suit.
Coronavirus, yeah. Take it seriously, though, guys, for real, everybody out there. And while they say wash your hands for at least 20 seconds, many, many times per day, don't touch your face. And if you're finding symptoms, make sure that you call your doctor first. Don't just show up at the emergency room.
Correct.
Well, that's well said. And if you're a Michigan fan, your coronavirus is probably an Ohio State suit. If you're a Georgia fan, it's either a Florida or a Georgia Tech suit. Wear your suits this week. Good night, everybody.
Get you
Good
one.
night. Get you one.
Same time, same place next week.
See you next week. Love you guys.
Good night, everybody. Love you too.
Good night.